Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for tuning in to the Daily Dose. Hey, this week we are talking all about the people who have made a difference in our lives. This last weekend, Angie gave an awesome message all about making a difference. She convinced us, I think, that every one of us can make a significant difference in this world, even though we are just one person on this planet of 7.7 billion people. In fact, she talked about how Jesus told a story about how there was this shepherd who had 100 sheep, and when one went lost, that shepherd went after the one. The story doesn't say that he went after 99 sheep. He went after just one. And today we're telling stories about that one person in our lives who came after us. And so today I want to tell you a little bit about my life. I grew up the son of a Lutheran pastor. My mom was a missionary and then she became a nurse. There were 3 of us kids in my family originally, my sister and I, and then we adopted my brother. And we lived sort of this idyllic life. It felt a little bit like, well, what it feels like when you watch Leave It to Beaver way back when. You see, everything was kind of as it should be. We were rather sheltered and we were happy. We were that church-going family. Well, my life kind of came to kind of a screeching halt, you could say. It got stopped dead in its tracks when in 5th grade, my mother got sick. She got sick, and the details are rather complicated, but she would pass away as I was entering my 5th grade year at Lincoln Elementary School in Jamestown, North Dakota. Now you can imagine as a 5th grade boy how that would have rocked my world. My mom was my rock. My dad was busy with work, and it was my mom who really, for all intents and purposes, was the one who raised us. And all that came to a screeching halt. And what I remember in my life is for the next several years, it was rather chaotic. My dad would remarry, and you know how this happens. When you blend families, things are messy, things are hard. All of a sudden, I had a stepsister and I had a stepmother, and this was all new. We moved to Iowa, and it just wasn't a good move for me as a middle school kid. And then we moved back up to North Dakota to a teeny tiny town there where it was absolutely clear I was an outsider. Well, in the midst of all of that, and by the way, I was in junior high, so I was going through all the junior high stuff that junior high boys go through. It was in junior high that I ended up attending a youth gathering with a group of kids from my church. I remember it was in Fargo, North Dakota, and I went because there were some cute girls in our church who were going to the youth gathering. I went along, and there was a session on leadership. And lo and behold, I somehow got elected to a board where I helped plan these youth gatherings. And lo and behold, that group was led by a pastor. And get this, his name was Charlie Brown. Can you imagine that? His real name was Charlie Brown, Pastor Charlie Brown. And here's the thing about Charlie. I had never met anyone quite like Charlie. Because in the midst of the storms that I was facing, Charlie took a special interest in me. I was his maybe one sheep that was lost. He was sort of this steady Eddie presence, an adult who said, I'm going to take you under my wing. He was authentic with me. He was quiet. He just loved to listen to me tell stories about what was going on in my life. And he had this ability to get me to actually talk. He honestly cared. He said things the way they were. From time to time, he swore. And he said, I'm sorry for swearing, but that deserves swearing. He was honest with me. He didn't try and make everything nice like we Midwesterners often do. He took an interest in me and he cared. He was honest. He was real. It makes me think of a passage in the book of Romans. Paul was writing to the Romans who were going through all kinds of turmoil of their own, and he reminded them of what love was. He gives this long talk about what it means to be people of faith, but then he says this, love must be honest and true. He said, hate what is evil, cling to what is good, but love must be honest and true. He says this in the 12th chapter of Romans, verse 9. Charlie Brown was honest and was true with me. As that middle school kid whose life had been turned upside down, he said, you're the one. You're that lost sheep. And I'm going after you, and nothing's going to get in my way. Folks, you too can be that shepherd who goes after the one. You know, when Jesus talks about making a difference in people's lives, he doesn't talk about doing big and huge things. He talks about small things. Faith the size of a mustard seed. A shepherd who goes after the one. So here's my question to you. Who's your one? Thanks so much, folks, for tuning in today. I'm so grateful for all of you, for your support and all the times you tune in. If you want to do this for us, if you're watching on Facebook, share this with a friend. Maybe you'll share it on your feed. If you're watching on YouTube, you can hit the bell so you get notifications, so you can make sure you watch each and every day. Or if you're watching on cable access, why don't you do this? Why don't you invite a friend to watch with you? Folks, have a great week.